What is going on, everyone out there in our MNC Hoops network? As far as YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, we've been getting a lot of traction on Facebook. Actually, get quite a few views there from all ages too. I really appreciate some of the comments we've been getting on that. Still, Nick, you need to get a Facebook so you can join us. We appreciate everything that you guys are following us on. So happy to be back here. It's just a little sad because it is the off season, but the draft is just over. Some crazy stuff happened during the draft. Not too much, but before we dive into it, of course, we want to check in with my boys here and see how you guys doing. How your week's been, Nick? You been doing all right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All is well, man. It's pretty good, man. The NBA draft just ended. I mean, there's a lot to talk about in the offseason, man. I wouldn't be too sad. You know, we got, like I said, the NBA draft just ended. We got the summer league coming up. Free agency's about to pop off. We got some trades that happen. So a lot of content to talk about, man. You know, the NBA never slows down to me.
Yes, sir. Everything is good. Good week so far. All went well this week, man. There's a couple trades caught us by surprise in the NBA. Free agency right around the corner. Actually, this week, if I'm not mistaken, coming up. So
July 1st.
July 1st.
July 1st.
So even though it's the off season, things don't stop in the league. So that's why we're still gonna be here. Summer league right around the corner too. So it's gonna be nonstop action.
And that's one thing that is crazy. Like, I'm sad that the season is over. We don't have actual playing basketball, but within the next less than a month, we've got summer leagues going on. We will have the basketball tournament going on up all over as well. It's definitely action-packed off-season, really. As you guys mentioned, there's been a couple of trades. There's trade talks heating up now. Who's going where? What teams wanting to make the next move? So, yeah, the content is going to be coming constantly. And, again, guys, like we've talked about before, we do want to get some debates going on, interact with you guys. At some point, we're going to try to break the where we have a phone line where you guys can call in and actually debate with us or give us your take on some things and talk with y'all that way, interact with y'all with that as well. I think it'll be really nice, definitely during the summer, get the Jordan, the LeBron debate, different things like that. I don't want to get into too much of that one because it's going to go nowhere, but at least those cool topics, debates, maybe get some old heads on my generation with some of you younger guys to talk about the three-point line and how it's evolved. Is it better for it? Will we get big man backs? But, those are different topics that we can dive into when we get to that point. But let's just go ahead and get on into it. CJ, what do we got for our first topic we bringing up?
First off, we got to pay the bills and SeatGeek, summertime.
Yes.
A lot of these tours, concerts going around right now. Michael just talked about a couple of tournaments. I'm pretty sure that the Summer League as well will be available on SeatGeek. So if you're in Vegas, Thomas Mack Center, and if you want to catch a game, and you're on SeatGeek looking for some tickets, man, use our code MNC Hoops for $20 off your first purchase. They've been showing us a lot of love with that sponsorship, so got to keep it rocking with that. Link is in the description, not only on Facebook, but it's also on YouTube as well. Link is in the description. Go on SeatGeek.com, sign up, use our code, a couple $20 off, man. If you're going to something crazy that costs a lot, $20 would go a long way, especially to save you something, get something to eat, whatever, depending on where you're at. So that's MNC Hoops, $20 off your first purchase on SeatGeek, SeatGeek.com.
I did probably my most shameless post or comment I've ever done before in my life on Facebook. So you guys know I like baseball as well. I've got, of course, a bat and a couple of things. I'm a big Reds fan. The Reds just won 12 games straight. They've actually, the Cincinnati Reds Facebook page said, hey, sold out, no tickets available against the Braves, which is the first time this season, which is amazing for the Reds. But again, we've won 12 straight, so we're really hot right now. And then they put a comment on their post about no seats or no tickets available, said SeatGeek still has seats available. So what did I do? Hey, go to that SeatGeek and use that promo code MNC Hoops and save you $20. Why not? While you're there. So
yeah, bro, that's smart. That's not what'd you call it?
Shameless.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, calm plug. Oh, that's easy marketing right there.
Absolutely.
Shout out SeatGeek. We're partners with them. makes the most sense. So yeah, listen,
Absolutely.
if you're watching the Reds games, guys in Kentucky, in Cincinnati, you got the guy Ellie De La Cruz got a cycle a couple
There you
days
go.
ago. Go
I'm gonna
catch a
start. I
beat.
think we'll start calling him Ellie De La Boom because
Listen, first 15 games, sensational. So
absolutely, just we're talking baseball. I got this card. I found one cheap at a card shop for $10. I'm like, I mean, why not go ahead and buy this for $10? How can I not? But Nick, this is something I usually don't ask, but your Twitter is all about it, and it's not that I'm not interested, but I want to let you go ahead and take a moment here if you don't care. Tell us what's been going on with the WNBA. I know you've had some different things going on there because it is going on. I don't want to take any slack from not talking about it, but can you give us any kind of updates, any kind of cool news going on? This is spur of the moment, and I apologize, but
yeah, man. Shout out to the W. It's been a really good season. I think we're about a little over a month in right now. A few teams who, really hitting the stride. Like shout out to the Las Vegas Aces. They're at 12-1, 13-1, or something like that. They're clicking on all cylinders. Shout out to the Connecticut Sun. They just got a win today against the Chicago Sky. A few other teams as well. Shout out to the Liberty. I think they kind of struggled in the beginning, but I think they're finally hitting their stride. I think they won like 5 of their last 6 or something like that. So kudos to them. So I think a lot of the big teams that have high expectations, they are starting to come together and starting to figure it out. But I mean, there's still a lot of the season left. So a lot of great matchups coming up, like the Aces and Liberty this Thursday. And that's pretty much it, man. I mean, kudos to a lot of the players who have been contributing. Shout out to Satu Sabali of the Dallas Wings, who have elevated her play throughout the course of this season, even though the Wings have lost like 3 of the last 4 games or something like that. Aaliyah
how's
Boston,
Ryan
Howard, pretty good in Atlanta. Shout out to Ryan Howard, one of my personal favorite players. She's really putting it on for Atlanta, being their number 1 option, being their franchise player. Atlanta is, I think, sitting at like number 7 or 8 in the standings right now. So, we'll see if they can continue to climb up the ladder per se. Aaliyah Boston, shout out to her from South Carolina. She's Rookie of the Year, in my opinion, unanimous Rookie of the Year. I don't even think that there's a debate. She was just announced as an All-Star starter as well. The Fever, who have taken strides as well. I think they're sitting at like number 7 or 8 as well in the standings. So they're really elevating as a team. So kudos to the W, man. I think we got to start making that a segment, man. Just look into the W.
Absolutely, yeah,
let's do it.
Yeah, don't see why we can't. Just to be honest with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Nick, for the WNBA news. Let's switch back to the NBA. A couple big trades this week. Wizards trade CP3 to the Warriors for Jordan Poole. Just gonna go right back to Nick, man. Obviously, Warrior fan. some big news in the franchise, and then also this right here with CP3 going to your squad. And also, let me get your thoughts on Draymond Green, obviously declining the player option, $27.5 million, to eventually get an extension with Golden State. I don't see him going anywhere else. What do you think that contract looks like? So a 2-parter.
Yeah, as far as the Draymond declining his extension, it didn't surprise me by any means. I kind of knew that he would kind of look to explore free agency. I know that there was talks about him going to Sacramento. I think there was a report today that said that he was going to possibly look into Memphis as well. But to me, I feel like with trading away Jordan Poole to Washington, I think that was a message from the front office to Draymond saying, you know what, we're all locked in. We want you to stay with the organization. We want to possibly run this back to see if we can possibly add a few more pieces and possibly, try to win a championship again. So that was my whole thing when it came to the Jordan Poole trade. And I'll say this about the whole trade as well with Jordan Poole is that to me it shows that he was kind of a bigger problem in the locker room within the organization than maybe we know as fans, as people who watch the game, people who talk about the game, analysts, reporters per se. Because obviously, we all know about the whole Draymond situation that happened before the season. Draymond punched him in the face, during the training camp and everything. So we get that, but it's very weird. Like you don't really see that to where an organization gives you an extension, they give you the bag, and then a year later they ship you out. And I know that Jordan Poole had a bad postseason, but I think we don't need to discredit what he was able to bring to the table last year in the 2022 playoffs, because he really played a major role as far as us winning a championship, which is the reason why he got the bag, was because of how well he played, him and Andrew Wiggins being great supporting cast around Steph, Draymond, and Klay Thompson. So to me, that shows that there was kind of a bigger issue that went down possibly within the organization. I don't know if those reports will ever come out, maybe possibly, but to me, that's kind of what I've seen with that whole situation. And as far as for Chris Paul joining this team, it's mixed emotions about this, because I hate the fact that we went older, because even after the season ended, like right after we lost to the Lakers, I came on here and said, I think that we need to continue to build younger around Steph. I think we need to add a younger supporting cast. But CP3 is a tremendous talent. He is a high IQ player, one of the best passers in the game. So, and honestly, at this stage in his career, he's a backup point guard. I don't know if many people agree or disagree with that, but to me, at this stage in year, I think he's going into year 19. At this stage, he is a backup point guard. So, you know, he can be able to run the second unit, or you can possibly run some lines where, you know, you have him and Steph in the backcourt. You know, Steph is obviously one of the best players who can move without the basketball, coming off of pin downs, coming off off ball screens. So with Chris Paul being a great high IQ player and being a great passer, obviously he's going to find Steph in his spots. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Klay, same thing with other guys. So I like it from that perspective. But also the thing about it is that, and this has been the downside of Chris Paul's career, is him being healthy in the playoffs. You know, we've seen it over and over again. We saw with the Clippers the reason why they were able to elevate as title contenders. We even saw with the Rockets. A lot of people will arguably say, if Chris Paul would have never went down in that series, that the Rockets would have won. I think that's debatable, but people forget Chris Paul was killing us in that game 5. Like, it wasn't even James Harden. It was really Chris Paul killing us in that game 5. And then I think at the end of that game, he went down with a hamstring injury. Yep. Then he went down for the rest of the series. So you can arguably say that injuries have costed Chris Paul about possibly 1 or 2 championships per se. So, you know, I think that is probably the biggest thing as far as for Chris Paul, is can he be healthy coming around playoff time? But overall, I don't really view this as like a bad trade. Of course, I was upset with it, because it was like, okay, why are we trading Jordan Poole for Chris Paul? I mean, I don't really think that's a fair trade. But if Chris Paul can just come in, be a great role player, be a great backup point guard, and you could possibly add a few young talents to surround him in that second unit, I think it could possibly be fine. So I'm going to give this a chance. I'm not going to jump off the ship and say, oh man, this is not going to work. We're going to see how this goes through part of the season, and, you know, we'll give our analyzation after that.
As far as for me, if you don't mind me going next, I'm kind of both ways. And first of all, I want to say this, Nick. I remember mid-season we were talking about just Chris Paul somehow maybe being on this team, and you're like, there is no way you would never want him. But I respect and I'm glad the way that you kind of approach it. Hey, we'll see how it goes. And I'm not like coming at you or anything like that, because in a weird way, this doesn't make sense. But at the same time, it kind of makes good sense. And that's, I know I'm backwards on that, because you said it best. Jordan Poole was younger, and the player that was coming on, like they gave him a bag last year, I think it was, the extension, and then, you know, he got knocked out, and then he never stumbled back from it, never came out of concussion protocol. And he played bad all year. Well, I won't say all year, but like he made mental errors in crucial moments. And Chris Paul don't do that. So I feel like it's a huge picture. Chris Paul for Poole is not really what this deal really is. Poole for Paul to also keep Draymond Green is basically this in a nutshell, like you said or alluded to earlier. But also, I like it for the part that I do think Chris Paul is going to be the second string. Do I think he's second string? No. I think he can still be a first string, quarterback, point guard for any team. But on this team, I think to keep his longevity for the whole season, because that's been a problem, is injury, this is best case scenario for him. Hey, Chris Paul, be our second string leader. Don't worry so much about playing every game, but, you know, get in with the lineup, get used to them, and we can run basically a straight long period first string. And what I mean by that is your main guards is going to be Klay, who apparently you're saying is completely healthy and he's able to be this, because Jordan Poole was the backup to Klay Thompson not being able to be back to who he was before. So you got Klay and Steph running your 1 and 2. You got Chris Paul who can come in to relieve either one of those guys, and Clay or Steph can run that too, and let Chris Paul come in and be that one, which is the way the Golden State runs it is kind of positionless anyways. So I think it can work well with this team. Now, age, accountability, health issues, that all comes into question with Chris Paul. But I think they just don't use him that much through the season because this is a veteran team where they don't have to have that number one seed where they have to have home court advantage. Granted, they only won 9 away games this year during the regular season. But I'm happy with this trade. I think this is a good fit for Chris Paul. There's not much asked upon him with this team. Steph Curry is the leader. Klay Thompson's the shooter. I mean, everyone still has their role. Draymond Green is now set to sign back with them, still be their psycho leader, if you will, the mentality leader. Chris Paul just got to come in and be a veteran leader and give a few buckets here, set some people up, get them in the game, and be the facilitator. And he's good. So I kind of like the trade. And I think it's good for Jordan Poole. Let's talk at least for the other side on this. We kind of just stayed on the Chris Paul and Warriors, but Jordan Poole is a player who is on the upcoming. Now, last year was a fluke. I'm going to say we hope it's a fluke on how he played because he didn't play up to his par what he did prior year of this. So a fresh atmosphere, new change away from knockout Draymond. Maybe he can become his superstar in Washington because they're already trading everyone else, which we'll get into more of those, where he can develop. And then who knows what Washington will probably be doing is, hey, come here, prove yourself. And when it comes trade deadline, you'll probably be out anyways, looking for another team where we can get more picks and get you a better spot for a ring anyways. And I will be right back because I think my son just came upstairs to go to bed. He was in the shower when I came in here, so I'm going to go tell him good night, and I'll be right back, guys.
How you good, man?
Let's get it.
So it's an interesting trade. It's an interesting trade. I still really don't understand it all the way. I see Michael and Nick, they both mentioned Chris Paul coming off the bench. I guess we'll find out. I don't know. Based on the little snippets of interviews that he's done post-trade, they haven't really asked him that yet. You look at a potential starting lineup for you guys. If he's in there, it's Steph, CP3, Klay, Wiggins, and Draymond. That's obviously Draymond, being the small center. In that, we know Looney could come off the bench and start, depending on who they match up with. That could be the potential starting lineup for you guys. Or, Chris Paul could come off the bench. I don't know. That's going to be a discussion that will be talked about until the season starts, really, because that'll be the first time Chris Paul has ever come off the bench in his entire career. So, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. I think they might start the season with him in the starting lineup and have Curry, Paul, Klay, Wiggins, and Draymond. I think they might start off with that. Yes, it's a small lineup. Be a lot of zone being involved in that. But I think there will be a discussion between Steve Kerr, Chris Paul, and deciding whether or not that's the right move for him going forward. It would make a lot of sense if he's in that second unit. You have players like Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga. They drafted some solid players in the draft on Thursday that are going to be up and coming, that are going to need to play now. It's no 3-4 year development. Mm-hmm. Once you're on the Warriors, you have the second unit. It's time to go. You look at Moody and Kuminga. This is year 3, so you're hoping that they take another large step in their career as Warriors. Really didn't get an opportunity to play a lot in the playoffs. We saw Kuminga kind of talk about him. If he didn't get a increased role, he might ask for a trade. Obviously, that talks have simmered down as of late, deservedly so. But you got to earn that spot too. You can't just cry trade when things don't go your way. I feel like if Steve Kerr really trusted you to go out there and make plays and make things happen, you would have been out there. So it's kind of that give and take for that. So hopefully he locks in and develops. And same thing for Moody. Moody did some good things for them In the playoffs, knock down some shots. He has to work on his defense. I think he'll be fine. So if Chris Paul is charging that second unit, I think that's a very efficient second unit that you have there. It's a change of pace. I think it's probably good for them as that core gets older. You can't play the run and gun. Like, you can do that in times in spurts, but Curry's 35. Clay and Draymond are about to be in their mid 30s. So you have to change your style of play. You can't play the same way you played when you're 27, 28 years old. And I think a guy like Chris Paul brings that slower pace at times. He can switch it up. He can do a multitude of things. But then for him, he's going to have to sacrifice too. He's going to have to play off the ball. He should be working. I'm pretty sure he's going to have to work on his catch and shoot threes. He's not going to have the basketball in his hands like he's accustomed to having the basketball in his hands, like we've seen for the teams he's been on previously. So he has to work on that part of his game. Draymond has kind of been like the facilitator, because we know how dangerous Steph Curry is off the ball. So you want to use him in that section of his game and in that offense. So Chris Paul's going to have to do some of that as well. He has the mid range, something that they haven't really, since KD, they haven't really found a player that can really bring that type of element to their offense. He's obviously one of the best mid range shooters of all time. So that, again, it's kind of, they have some counter moves that you can bring to the table when you have him in there. Obviously, the unselfishness, the defense isn't what it used to be. He's 38. He'll be 39 when the playoffs start next season. So that's a factor. But I think minute management is key. And if you have a player, you have a coach that used to be a former player, and Steve Curry obviously understands that. And what that second unit looks like and how well those two guys play, and Moody and Kuminga, and if they're able to take that next step and really be key role players for the Warriors going forward. They're going to win a bunch of games. They managed to make the playoffs despite the record that Michael talked about on the road. So that they have to clean that up. Number one, I think that will definitely change, because when you're on the road, you're by yourself. It's just you and the team. And based on what we saw in the video, it gets awkward. When you're it's just you and the guys. And when you have I think the number one thing, I think it was more so that it came out, right? Because I'm pretty sure it's a plethora of fights and arguments and circumstances like that happen in NBA locker rooms and practices and things like that. But when it gets out, when it becomes public, when it's everywhere on the internet, when you make a post on social media, and instead of people talking about the post, they're talking about the video. It creates a whole different distraction. Now the media is asking you about it. So I think it was more the fact that it got leaked that hurt, really the friction even more between Poole and Draymond. And of course the Warriors are going to choose Draymond over Poole, because he's one of the cornerstone pieces to this dynastic run that they've been on in the last 8 years. 4 championships in 8 years speaks for itself. So it's weird because last year, we were talking about him being the next guy and possibly replacing Clay and possibly replacing Steph down the road when that time presented itself. So because of how well he played great. So when you played well like that, and efficient too. That was another thing. He was a very efficient player, and I think that incident that happened with Draymond really played a big role and how he played this season and how everything transpired. And I think a change of scenery for him is good. He's still talented. He's going to a team where he's going to have a lot of opportunities to score. But I think the scoring is okay, cool. But now I think what the next step for him is, he's still 24. He's still a really young player. Is the intangibles, right? Is the leadership. There's two sides to every story. Why did Draymond do that? And he didn't just do that for no reason. We don't know what happened. We'll never know what happened. But it's going to come down to a place where you also have to look at yourself and see if you could have did something different in that moment. So we'll see if he's worked on his intangibles. He's going to be a leader, a young leader. You have a bunch of guys there. He's a champion. No one else on that roster can say they're a champion on that Wizards franchise. So he should definitely use this opportunity and maximize it, I think he will. Rooting for his success in a different conference. They're not going to win a bunch of games, obviously. But, this is definitely an opportunity for him to, it's another chapter in his career. And it just adds to his story. And we'll see how he responds. So I think it was necessary for both sides. We know Chris Paul wasn't going to remain a Washington Wizard after what happened last Sunday with Bradley Beal and whatnot. So good trade for Poole to get out of Golden State, switch it up. And then for Chris Paul, too, to go somewhere where he doesn't have to necessarily do everything in terms of playmaking and leadership and things like that. He could kind of lean on some of those other players that the Warriors already have. I think he should be fresher, hopefully. People saying he doesn't miss a lot of regular season games, but in the playoffs he's been hurt over the last 5 seasons. That's just what it is. I think hopefully he can stay healthy. This going to a team like this puts him in a position to possibly win a championship. They just won a championship 2 years ago, so that's always going to be in play. And I don't think they're done. I think they have to do something else. I don't know what that something else is. I don't know. We'll see. We've seen trades and pickups, the way these guys maneuver the cap and maneuver the money to get guys and sign players. It's always a possibility to get someone when we don't expect it to happen. So I don't think the Warriors are done here. So you bring in a guy like Chris Paul and, obviously something else down the road, it puts them in even more position to contend, which when you have a guy like Stephen Curry still playing at a high level, that's the primary goal.
I've got 2 real quick talking points, I guess, on here, and then we'll kind of move on from the Warriors, his trade and everything. Number 1, Chris Paul, you talked about needs to work on his catch and shoot. Totally agree with that statement. He's shooting as a career 36.9% from the 3. So I think that definitely has to improve, and I think it will, because most of his shots, and no facts on this, would, in my opinion, be off the ball threes more than likely of what he has done in the past. So hopefully some more percentage will increase as he's catching in rhythm of a catch and shoot there. And I think, like you said, he will be practicing that. And then my second thing that I just kind of want to say here and let you all dissect, if you will. If you can't get your head right as far as maturity, what we're talking about with Jordan Poole, of what went on in the locker room or on the court, whatever happened there, with these guys, as far as Draymond, Clay, even Andre Iggy, never can say it half the time. Clay, there we go. And all these guys, it would be very tough for me to think that Jordan Poole can go and be the leader on a mentality level like that somewhere else and be the man on that. So I kind of question that. I didn't think about it until, CJ, you were talking about it. He's going to have to kind of grow up more or less. I hate to say like he's being a childish person like that when I say grow up, but he's got to mature more in this role. And I'm hesitant on saying that. And real quick, we'll bring in Jimmy's comment. What's up, Jimmy? Thank you for joining in. As always, we do appreciate it. And guys, if y'all are into cards, Jimmy opens up on Twitter and Facebook quite a bit of cards. I think it's called Unwrapped on Friday nights, I think it is.
So the leadership thing, again, we saw a video that was probably less than 2 minutes, right? So you could really sit there and play, internet police and try to dissect everything.
Right.
We don't know what happened. We don't know what was said. We don't know what happened prior to the footage being. It's so many questions, right? So and I didn't hear anything of immaturity and those type of narratives prior to the video. Okay. So, and if they felt like that, I feel like they would have been hesitant to pay him and give him the money that they gave him. So we'll see, right? This is what we'll find out, because now he's not on the team. And like I said, now he's in a situation where he's at a place where they have young players just like he does, but the difference is he has the playoff experience and he has the championship. And with his ability and how talented he is, it looks like he's most likely going to get a lot of opportunities to score and showcase his talent. So it's an interesting thing to talk about. We'll find out. We'll find out. Who he is. He could really position himself to be a star player. Again, they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna win a lot of games this year, but depending on what they do going forward, and if he's a potential piece for them, he could definitely catapult himself into a really a star type player. But that's ultimately up to him, of course.
So let me ask you this real quick. Yeah. Let me ask you this. Y'all think Jordan Poole can potentially be the franchise guy in Washington?
Listen, I'm hesitant to say. I'm going to go with no. As far as a quick answer, I'll just be no.
He has the talent. I truly believe that. Now, again, it's going to take a few more pieces for that to happen. Franchise player. I don't see that right now, but that doesn't mean it can't happen, right? Because again, he is gifted. He's a gifted scorer. Get to the basket. He was outside of last year. He was an efficient player. He had a great season. He was one of the reasons why you could say he was the third best player or second best player in that championship run 2 years ago for the Golden State Warriors. So, and it wasn't like he was just standing in the corner. He was making plays for himself. Right. He was, they trusted him to take some shots where it's like, why are you taking that shot? And it would go in and be like, okay, that's why, because that's how gifted he is. So, can he be a franchise player? That's up to him. I think he can. Down the road, there's going to be they probably need another wing / dynamic big. Again, that's just what we see it historically. We always say this on the show, and we've done topics on it. So it's going to take a few more pieces for them to completely turn it around. But can he be a factor on this team if they make the right moves and bring the right guys in there going forward? I believe so. I'm gonna say yes.
It's interesting. I guess. I mean, I do think that there's a possibility, but it will take a different level of maturity, a little bit of evolution, a little bit of a leadership that he's going to have to step into. Because obviously, him playing with Golden State, he didn't have to be that guy. But now, if you're the Wizards and you're trying to rebuild, and this is your guy, I mean, I will say right now I am kind of leaning on no, but there is a possibility per se. But I do also kind of question as well, does he have that personnel to one day be like a franchise leader? Can he be a guy that can possibly lead your team to the championship? I don't even know if Washington's really had that type of guy. I mean, I know they had guys like Gilbert Arenas. I know that they had John Wall in those days. Those teams were great, but I don't know if they necessarily had that. So it'd be interesting because you got Jordan Poole there. I haven't heard anything about possibly moving Kuzma or not. I don't know if he's going to stay with the team or if they're going to possibly find a package for him. But if he stays, you get that adds another championship or that adds another champion as well. So we'll just see where Washington goes from here.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Washington, it kind of transitioned into something else here. What we got, of course, the Poole trade, what he is going to bring there. But another trade that's happened with Washington is Porzingis is been traded to Boston. Smart's headed to Memphis, and Memphis has given up picks and some other players. Not for sure what all's been said on that. But Washington's definitely clearing house and going for picks and youth. We know that. So I'm going to start with you, CJ. As you bring up the graphic here, how do you feel about Porzingis getting his new fresh start yet again for another team here, but at least going to Boston, who has been year in, year out a contender in the East?
Yeah, this one definitely caught me by surprise. I definitely didn't see this one coming for sure.
In what way, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, it just I knew he was obviously going to be traded, but
but to Boston,
right? Yeah, right. That's what it was.
Okay.
I didn't think it'd be the Celtics. I thought it'd be another team. But I think it makes them more dynamic offensively. Horford is getting older. He's 38 years old. The way they play, a free-flowing style type, capitalize on your mistakes, capitalize on mismatches style type offense. Having a dynamic, 7-footer, 7'3" power forward / center that could space the floor, averaged 25 and 8 last year. It just brings a different level to their offense. I think it's a great move. My thing still with these tall guys, and we'll get into Wembanyama in a little bit, but it's yes, they could dribble and step back threes and do all of that type of stuff, but you're still tall and you're still closer to the rim than anybody else on the court. So I still would like to see him play a little bit closer to the rim. I don't want to see him just standing at the 3-point line like Horford did all the time. I feel like Horford kind of just had the transition to that style because he was getting older, and that's what he needed to do to stay on the court and still be effective. But with a guy like Porzingis, who's in his late 20s, mid to late 20s, he can still bring that up. He's still a mismatch. Give it to him on the post, shoot over guys. He has that ability to do so. 8 rebounds is good. I want to see that to maybe around 10, 11 for my liking. But that's just me. Being that tall, definitely should be averaging double-digit rebounds, no question. But it's going to come down to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And I said this last week, and we talked about what they were going to do in terms of getting a playmaker. I said, listen, if you want to win a championship, your best player has to be that playmaker. He just has to be. Look at the last 4 Finals MVPs. LeBron, Jokic, Curry, Giannis. They're all around players. That's the common denominator with all 4 of those guys. They make it happen in scoring, rebounding, defense, and getting their teammates involved. And in Tatum averages, 5 assists, but it's just you could get 5 assists, but it's how you get the 5 assists. It's what you're doing for the offense. I think for him, he has to, unlock that part of his game if they want to win a championship. Then come fourth quarter, late in the third quarter, that's your time. That's your time to shine. You can average 30. You average 30 this season. All NBA, all of that stuff is there, and he's 25. So it's not like I'm saying he needs to do it now, but they're right. They're literally, right there. It's Eastern Conference Finals. It's like it's the low ball for them. They're getting to the Eastern Conference Finals or the finals pretty much every single year. So he has to improve. Jaylen Brown also has to improve. He's the second best player on the team. He has to work on that part of his game as well, because if Tatum is unlocking that part of his game and playmaking, more times the second guy to get the basketball will be Brown. They're going to load up on him. They already know what he's not great at, so he has to improve in that area to kind of minimize that and make them a stronger team, and he'll obviously become a better player when he attacks that. So I like the move. Unfortunately, the first trade fell through because teams were hesitant on Brogdon's injury history, and he's supposed to go to the Clippers, and you were going to be able to keep Smart, and that would have been perfect. That's the perfect scenario. You get Smart, Brown, Tatum, Porzingis, Robert Williams. That's easily one of the best. That's easily like a top 3 starting 5 in the NBA, probably top 2. You obviously got to put Denver 1 because they were on the chip, but that's a top 2, top 3 starting 5 in the A. But unfortunately, they gave up someone that's been with the team for the last 9 years, and Marcus Smart. It's tough. I think Smart going to Memphis is good for this team. Ja's going to miss pretty much a fourth of the season with the suspension. You bring in a guy like Smart, you lose Tyus Jones in the trade in that Jordan Poole Chris Paul trade. So you lose him. So now Tyus Jones is a Washington Wizard. You're gonna need that guard to kind of do a multitude of things. We haven't really seen Marcus Smart be a scorer per se. It's kind of been the off the ball guy. He'll score at times. He'll get like 15 to 17 at times, but nothing crazy like that. I think we might see him. You might see how well he is as a scorer. He can expand that part of his game, especially with Ja being out. They're still a well-oiled machine. I still feel like they need to probably add another guard in there with Ja being out just to manage that second unit. But I think it's a good trade. It's a good trade. The health of Porzingis is key. Played 65 games last year. That's the most he's played pretty much his entire career. I think maybe only one other time He played more than that, so that's good for him. This is obviously a trade for him to go opt in and get an extension. So his health is paramount. Like, you stay healthy, you'll get the bag. It's pretty much that simple. We know how talented he is. So that's really the key. And if they get to the finals and they go up against a team like Denver, it adds a different element because one, Robert Williams is the center now, solidified. Now it's not a scenario where he was coming off the bench, he was starting, and we was like, what's going on? Like, last year he started, they went to the finals, he was making things happen. We know he also has injury concerns, but when he's out there, he makes plays. He's a lob threat. He's an athletic guy, can run the floor. He can also shots at the rim. So his minutes are very valuable. Now you have a help defender like Porzingis, 7'3". That's a pretty formidable front court. You have your shooting guard to center. All of those guys are 6'7" and up. That's pretty versatile. That's pretty versatile. And three out of those four can shoot and space the floor. Derek White at 6'5". So now your starting five is 6'5" and up. It's no excuses. So it's either Eastern Conference, the NBA Finals. They have their second in the odds to go back to the second in the odds for the championship next year, deservedly so. And Joe Mazzulla's second year as a head coach, I think he did a great job considering the circumstances that he was presented with at the start of the season. We all know what happened there. So I like the move for Porzingis. He has an opportunity to go somewhere where he has a shot to win. So we'll see how impactful his scoring and rebounding and defensive is now, because he had that opportunity in Dallas for a cup of coffee, but Washington, we know those were losing seasons. When he was drafted to the Knicks, those were losing seasons. So now you're going to a team with a lot of expectations. They're expecting you to perform, and not only perform in the regular season, but to perform in the playoffs. So it's a big moment for him, man. This is why you play. This is why you play. You play to not only just get the bag, but if you really want to be one of those guys, you show what you do in the playoffs. And excited for him, and we'll see what they do going forward.
Oh man, this one was a big one, really a big one. I'll start with Marcus Smart. I love it for Memphis. Now you have two of the last Defensive Player of the Year winners. Obviously, Marcus Smart and Jaren Jackson Jr., so that definitely elevates the team defensively. However, I do hate it for Boston just because when you think about Marcus Smart of that team, like, he is the heart and soul of that team. He brings a defensive identity. He's the guy that's, that's going to make all of the dirty plays, going for loose balls, down for loose balls, being able to guard players on the ball, being a great team defender as well, really setting the tone on the end of the floor. And then, of course, offensively, he's not known as a playmaker. Like, he's not an elite playmaker, but he can make plays on occasion, setting guys up. He can, he is able to knock down perimeter shots. So he's not elite offensively, but he can contribute in some form or fashion. So I do think that Boston is going to miss that from that aspect of course, with him being the heart and soul, him bringing the identity to the team. But if you're Memphis, you got to love it. Once Ja comes back, I think it's pretty fair that, that you can have those two as your starting backcourt, with Smart, of course, setting the tone, of course, defensively on the perimeter. And, we'll just see how it works, honestly. I am kind of surprised because of how well Tyus Jones played when Ja was hurt through the past few years. Everybody knows that record of they went like 21, 22-5 whenever Ja was out. And Tyus Jones was a big contributor in that, being able to step in as the starting point guard and being able to set the tone, or not being able to set the tone, but being able to contribute offensively. So I was honestly very surprised that Tyus Jones was a part of that package. So I don't know if he's going to stay in Washington. He's probably is going to stay in Washington, but in the near future, I would love to see Tyus Jones be a part of another playoff contender just because of the experience that he has and what he's able to do as a backup point guard. I think, in my opinion, he was arguably the best second unit point guard in the NBA. Now, as far as for Porzingis, I like the move. And a lot of people, I don't know how many people have really paid attention to Washington, but I think over the past so many years, Porzingis has gotten a bad rap, in terms of how he's played. But I think in Washington, he's kind of elevated his play. I think on both ends of the floor. I mean, we all know that he's a great floor spacer, but I think defensively he's kind of elevated as well. I mean, like I said, everybody looks at the whole situation with him and Luka in Dallas that obviously didn't work out. So now you're transitioning from Washington to Boston, and he's not asked to be a number one option or number two option, in my opinion. Now you have a guy, you're playing next to guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You're able to stretch the floor on offense. Then up towards on defense, to me, I think he'll be possibly like a younger version of Al Horford, where all he's asked to do is just make perimeter shots and then, of course, contribute defensively. I don't know if he's as good of a defender as Al Horford, especially with the way Horford played, especially as how great Horford played in the playoffs, especially guarding Embiid on face-ups and everything. So I don't know if he's going to be a better defender than Horford, but the one thing that you can say about Horford was that even though he did play great defensively in the playoffs, he wasn't able to knock down shots for the most part of the playoffs, and I think that kind of played a really big role as far as Boston not being able to get to the finals. So now you add Porzingis to this team, who you don't have to ask for him too much, just rebound, defend, and just being able to space the floor. I think it's a good situation for him. So overall, I think with all these guys in their new destinations, I think it's going to be good for them, and we'll just see how they shine moving forward.
Yeah, I think all you guys totally hit every point really there is. I'm just happy that Porzingis is on a team where he is a contender and he's not the main options on here. So to me, he has a great opportunity where he can say, hey, this is going to define my whole career in the NBA. Sadly, in this next year can really show what he can do, because everything else has been kind of swept under the rug if they have a big run and he does some major production for this team. What you guys said with Marcus Smart, I on last week even said that Marcus Smart is probably the weakest link on the starting five, needed to be traded. Not saying that I called the trade or anything, because only thing I can figure, you're going to move Tatum to the point guard position on this. So I do respect and agree with you, Nick. He is the go-getter for all the playmaking as far as loose balls, defensive stops, and all that. So they're going to miss that. I don't know who will step up and be that person for them. They may miss that Draymond Green type player on that end of as far as Boston. But I think it's a great trade for both Memphis and Boston. Again, Wizards, they play them for the future. That's all we can really say. So kudos to both those players. I think they've got great opportunities to show that they are real deal players in these opportunities now.
Absolutely. All right. In the middle of the week, we had the NBA draft pop in, and obviously the big talk regarding the top three picks, and obviously the rest of the draft is important as well. But that top three, man, really hit home. There's really some questions on who was going to go to, and was there going to be some trades, or guys going to be moved to get the third pick? All these talks that transpired before the trades, before the draft, but ultimately a couple trades here and there, but nothing groundbreaking. And we have the overview of the first round here for the viewers here. So obviously the top three picks: Victor Wembanyama, Brandon Miller, Scoot Henderson. The Thompson twins round out the top five. Nick, just want to get your thoughts on. We knew the Spurs were going to draft Wembanyama the moment they won the lottery. That was a layup. But what's your thoughts on obviously taking him, and what are your plans for him going forward? And then also, for the other two picks and Brandon Miller going to Charlotte, thought maybe they should have took Scoot. Thought Scoot might have been the second best player available. And then there's some of these other guys that got drafted in the first round. What's your thoughts on the draft?
As far as for Wembanyama, I think it's the perfect situation in San Antonio. I mean, I was one of the guys that was vouching for San Antonio to get that number one pick, because I felt like it was such a perfect situation. When you think about the history of the team and or the history of the franchise, I know I don't view them as a dynasty, but they are a great team. They are a great organization. But I mean, when you think about it, it's crazy too, because I think just the other day, right after the draft, you saw a picture with him, Sean Elliott, Tim Duncan, David Robinson, and Manu Ginobili. Like, there's no better guys to be able to learn the game from, and then of course figure out ways to win at an NBA level. he's a generational talent, standing at 7'5", being able to operate the way that he does, being able to knock down perimeter shots, being able to get to the basket, being able to obviously be a 7'5", you can rebound just about everybody. And, he barely has to get off the floor to dunk the ball, which is crazy. But, honestly, I mean, this was a pick that you just cannot pass up. You know what I'm saying? I got a few stats from, playing last year. He averaged 24 game, nearly 12 rebounds, 3.5 blocks on 47% shooting, which is pretty much phenomenal. I think the one thing that I will say is that I think, from where he played, I can't remember exactly what league he played for, but I think there will have to be some small adjustment of him transitioning to the NBA level, because I don't know if people really remember in those 2 games that he played in the against the G League Ignite, but he did kind of struggle being able to play on the NBA floor, being able to play at an NBA level. I know G League's a little bit under the NBA, but it was still a little bit of a struggle for him. So that's why in my opinion, I think him getting some run in summer league will help. I know a lot of people are vouching for him not to play because protecting him from injuries, which I totally understand that, but allow him to get a little bit of a run. Allow him to get a feel for what it takes to play at an NBA level, so that he can prepare for the training camp, so that he can prepare for the NBA season to come. But besides that, I'm sure he's on everyone's list as far as, being a Rookie of the Year favorite. And honestly, I mean, if he can stay healthy, I don't see why not. So I love the fit of Wembanyama going to San Antonio, being able to play under the legendary Greg Popovich, and we'll just see how the season turns out. As far as for Brandon Miller, I was on record saying that it was going to happen, but I was also nervous because there was so many reports that was coming out about his workouts with the team, and it was just all kind of negative. And I was like, dang, I don't know what's kind of changed for him. But obviously they ended up going with him with the second pick. And I was the one saying, I'm not saying that Scoot wouldn't have been a good fit, because I love Scoot Henderson, but I think it would have been questions as far as who was the true franchise guy, whether it was him or whether it was LaMelo Ball. So I think with you going Brandon Miller, not saying that Brandon Miller cannot be a franchise guy, but I think it's clear that they want to continue to move with LaMelo Ball as their franchise point guard, and just being able to build a team around him. So I like it. So with Brandon Miller, he had a great freshman season at Alabama, one of the best scorers in the nation. I know he didn't play up to par during the tournament. I want to say they lost in the Sweet 16, but overall, he had a solid season. Overall, be able to average 18 points per game, around like 43% shooting. I do think that he needs to get his percentage up, but I think honestly, like through the course of that season, you saw progression. He was able to get to the basket a little bit more. As the season progressed, he was able to shoot more confidently, especially in transition. So I think overall, he did kind of elevate his play as the season progressed. So my question is, with Charlotte going into, they got new ownership now. It seems like they're going into a new direction. Can they possibly help him? And not even just him, but the other guys, the other guys like LaMelo, PJ Washington, Miles Bridges I want to say Miles Bridges is coming back to the organization. So can they help those guys continue to progress as young talents and help them possibly elevate as true playoff contenders as the years come by? So I like the fit for them. And we'll just see how the organization can play this out. And as far as for Scoot, I love the situation with him in Portland. And it's kind of crazy, too. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a rumor that went around during the trade or during the draft that the Brooklyn Nets declined trading Mikal Bridges and I think somebody else for the number 3 pick, which is Scoot Henderson and Anthony Simons. I mean, look, there's no disrespect to Mikal Bridges. I love his game. I think he's progressed tremendously and really being able to show his value offensively with Brooklyn. But if I were the Nets, I would have taken that. I would have taken that in a heartbeat. I think Scoot Henderson is a guy that you can build your franchise around. I think he has the talent. I think that he has the upside. And I think it's a great situation for him in Portland. Now, the question is now, what's going to happen with Damian Lillard? Because to me, I felt like if you trade the pick, then that means that you're going to continue to build around Damian and continue to find guys that can help elevate that team as title contenders. But now you decide to keep this pick and you got Scoot Henderson. So now what is the future looking like for Damian Lillard with this Blazers organization? Is he going to Miami? Is he going somewhere else? Who knows? But I think those are some questions that they're going to have to answer throughout the offseason. But besides that, these top 3 picks, I love them. These 3 are clearly the best players in the draft. Other guys that I like as well, Ahmed Thompson going to Houston. I love that as well. He has tremendous upside. I think that he needs to improve as a perimeter scorer. But besides that, he's a great attacker, great athletically, great playmaker. Same thing as far as his brother Asar, pretty good shooter. Reminds me a little bit of like a Jason Tatum with the way that he operates and is able to get to his shots, and a few other guys as well. But overall, I really do love this draft. There's a lot of great young talent offensively, and I'm ready to see what they can produce in the summer league.
Awesome. Just real quick for me on this, I think 1 through 5 was fun to watch. Again, I'll just go storyline here. Scoot, I think, makes it so much weird for us, at least to have content through the summer, because, me being a Heat fan, what's going to go on? Is Dame actually going to make it to Miami? Drafting Scoot almost is like the replacement there. There's not been a trade, and then there's the talks that Zion may be on the block, but then that's kind of went hush. I thought that trade or something would happen there, and if Portland made a pick, I was assuming that Dame would be traded to Miami. There's so many different stories going on right now. It makes it crazy. But my favorite thing that happened during this draft was the Thompson brothers, the twins going back to back, just the whole family atmosphere that they got to go with all that. I thought was phenomenal. Me being a father of 3 kids, just to watch that and just see the family think, all their hard work that they did, all the games, the late hours that they put into this, the travel that they did, paid off all in one night there for the moment that they got to share with both kids back to back. So I thought that was a phenomenal moment for them. Glad I got to watch that. As far as going with like a rookie of the year candidate, I mean, Victor is going to be the guy to pick on that just because of what he has the ability to bring. But I don't want to be like everyone and pick that. So the person I want to say at least maybe could be a one that would creep to us. And you may think I'm weird a little bit on this, but Anthony Black, I think with Magic, I think could be interesting this year with this young team. I don't think a lot of the players that they have is going to finish this year. So I'm interested to see how Anthony Black does this year. I think they're going to make some trades and thin out some of that roster because there's so many players that they have that are just like borderline potential, but you've got to move some of them potential to get some veterans on that team as well. Of course, I mean, they've had 2 top 12, I think it was top 11 picks. So who knows what they do? Just to be brief on there. And of course, let me bring in Ryan's comments before you go here. He said that Miller tried his best to avoid Hornets, and he thought that the Warriors had the best picks in the draft. And of course, Nick, I'm sure you agree with that as well. Ryan, thanks for joining the show and listening with us.
Appreciate you, Ryan, stopping by on YouTube, my guy. I'm not sure if he avoided because looking at the call that he had with Jordan after he got drafted, when he got drafted, seemed pretty happy. He was joking with Jordan a little bit and whatnot. So I'm not sure. But
maybe the LeBron, not the greatest. It's Paul George, not saying Michael Jordan. Maybe that was it.
I was going to ask about that.
I thought that was him kind of playing. Like that was almost me saying, well, he didn't throw out Michael Jordan in there. I think he's kind of making a shot at Jordan, even though it's probably like them picking at each other because he know that draft pick is coming.
Yeah, I think it was he was just joking around, but it's tough to do that in the landscape that we live in today. Wembanyama, no brainer. I saw the dinner, the picture of him with the dinner that he had with the Spurs legends. I think it's great, man. I think it's great for all the hype and everything. I know the media, they're trying to make him the next guy, and for him to go to a team like this with a Hall of Fame head coach, with former players that he has in his contacts for the rest of his career, for life, really. That's really how he sees it. Tim Duncan, David Robinson, those guys, they obviously know the pressure that comes with being a top pick and needing to perform when it matters. There's going to be so much pressure on him, man. But what it does is it brings eyes back to the Spurs again. Something that we haven't seen since I'd say Kawhi left, so let's say 5 years. And it's going to be some nationally televised games. Spurs going to get some nationally televised games again. He's going to bring a lot of new eyes. He's going to bring in he's not bringing the country because I'm pretty sure a lot of people in France are Spurs fans because of Tony Parker. But it's just going to be so. The media, man, they build you up to tear you down, right? And I just wish him the best. I think he went to the best spot to kind of negate some of those things. We know Pop loves to not give the media anything and likes to give some weird answers to certain questions. Mm-hmm. So I think it's good. On the court, Me personally, it's gonna he has to get stronger. That's a given. I think that'll come with time. He's still a young guy. Once he really grows into his body and he gets into his 20s, early 20s, that'll present itself. But he has to get stronger. Playing in the NBA, I know these old heads in the media, they'll tell you that the league is quote unquote soft, but it's obviously not. Because if it was so soft, then more people would make it in the league. So that's not the case. So he does have to get stronger. I mean, he's a tall guy. People are going to try to move him off his spot. If you want to get rebounds, you have to be physical to get the rebound. You have to box out. You have to get in front of a guy and make moves and position yourself to get the board and do things like that. So I think he's put in a perfect situation. I don't even think he should shoot a lot of threes. The step back stuff, it's cool. I would like to see that situationally. To me, at that size, and that's really this is the point I wanted to make too. And I kind of left it for this topic was. This is why you start to see some of these big guys get hurt because they're so tall and they're doing guard stuff and they're you're just too tall to play like a guard you just can't do that. So you're putting so much pressure on your knees and your feet. And that's why you saw the bigs in in eras past, they were able to play for a substantial amount of time. They were able to play, a decade plus because they were closer to the rim. It's just like, I get it. I know we shoot a bunch of threes now in this era, but fact of the matter is, if you're that tall, you have to be able to position yourself and put yourself in the position to score in the easiest way possible. And that's obviously being closer to the rim. It's just common sense. So yes, will he be able to shoot some threes? Sure. That's why I said earlier, a couple of weeks ago, I said he should look at Jokic and try to model his game after Jokic, because Jokic is a guy he doesn't look the most athletic guy, but he doesn't get hurt. He dominates the game, and he understands this is the area where I'm going to score and dominate. And we just saw this man hoist a Larry O.B. So that's just a given. And I think obviously having David Robinson, Tim Duncan in his ear, I think that would definitely help him going forward. So rooting for him. I wish him nothing but the best because the media is going to swarm him like crazy. And they're going to give him a bunch of crazy, they're going to, the narratives and then all the talk that they're about to give him is going to be insane. So I can only imagine. So just stay locked in and ready to go. Brandon Miller, I thought the scoop move would be cool because you have a dynamic backcourt.
Mm-hmm.
But you got a 6'8" versatile wing. I get it. That's really this era, right? That's the league that we're in. So it makes the most sense to go that route. Pair a guy like that with LaMelo. You have LaMelo, Bridges, Miller. You just need a dynamic big. Mark Williams out of Duke he had some solid moments last year as a rookie. Can protect the rim. Solid free throw shooter. We'll see. I think that's a nice solid young core, especially if Miller turns out to be a really good player, man. And I'm wishing him the best. I'm wishing him the best as well. I know everything that happened during the season. Clean slate, new season, lock in, do what you got to do, and do what's necessary for your career going forward. Scoot Henderson, if he's great, Dame might stay. Dame definitely might stay. If he feels like, this is a guy I could, if he's great right away, and both of those guys have great chemistry, and they're ready to, and they feel like Dame's like, listen, I could win with this guy. We could do something special here in Portland. I know that the age gap is about like 13 years or so, 12, 13 years. But if he's as dynamic as everybody says that he is, now you're practicing with Damian Lillard. You're traveling the road with Dame. You're training, and he's already being mentored by Steph, and he's being trained by Steph's trainer. This guy is in a position to succeed. Looks like he has a great work ethic, just based on the people that he surrounded himself with before he even got drafted. So, listen, if he's really good, he could be the guy to change Dame's mind. I think it'll be a first half season trial, if they're playing well and things are going well and they have a solid record, it could entice Dame to stay. If they're playing, even if they're playing well and not winning games, and Dame might be on the clock, then I think he'll be traded at the All-Star break, or before the trade deadline, I should say. I think that'll be it, because again, it just all the narratives and I want to leave, I want to stay, and Portland saying they're fielding offers, then the next day they're like, we're not taking any. It's just I'm so tired of it. So I'm giving it. I think by trade deadline, we'll see how Scoot and Dame play with Anthony Simons. We'll see if Shaedon Sharpe takes that next step, becomes a better shot creator. We know he's athletic and he has springs, but he has to be a better shooter. Nurkic, solid big. Let's see. Chauncey Billups.
He's on the trade block.
Nurkic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, again, it's just what it is. It's what it is. He's been there a long time, good player, but business is business. So, yeah, I think that's what it is for Scoot. The Thompson twins, yeah, it's a great story. Michael made a great point about that. Houston got a lot of guards, got a lot of wings, I should say. You got Green, KPJ, Thompson, Udoka's coaching. So it's first and foremost, whoever plays defense at the highest level will play. That's he has the same identity as Pop in that regard. So I think he's going to be great. I think the floor spacing is key for both brothers, for both guys. I like the Pistons. I thought the Pistons would go with Whitmore. I know Whitmore dropped to the Rockets, so now they had the injury concerns and the workouts, and you know how the stories start to come about after you get drafted. So now you have the Rockets have Whitmore and Thompson with Green and Kevin Porter Jr. It's the best case scenario. 2 or 3 of those guys are gonna shine, and we'll see who will be.
What do you think about Cason Wallace? Of course, he's my Kentucky guy going to Oklahoma City. How do you feel on that one? Because that's
it's tough. You have Giddey and SGA. Those guys have the basketball in their hands, and he could be a solid rotation piece off the bench, 6-man type guy, playmaker, could score, play deep, play really good defense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not against. That's how they have to build their team. No, they're not getting free agents. So,
right. Because he's a great player.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to be behind SGA quite a bit on this.
Sure.
And that's where I'm like, I don't know. And of course, in times past, and I'm sorry, we're probably making this too long, me even going there, but it's Kentucky basketball, and I got to talk a little bit about it. In times past, I've talked about SGA not being with this team much longer just because of the age gap a little bit, but it's not too bad. I think it's like 4 or 5 years is the age gap. I know you guys disagree with me on it, but maybe it's Cason Wallace is the guy moving forward once, a year or two under the belt. Okay, SGA, you've got us here. You've trained. We want you to go on Wolverine. We're going to try to build with these guys. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe Cason Wallace is a replacement until Giddey gets older because, he's young, doesn't have much of a shot, but is a playmaker. He struggles from the three-point line. Wallace is a pretty good shooter. So I guess there's options all around what could be going on here. It's just trying to understand and figure out what they have planned. Who knows?
Yeah, I just feel like this is how they have to build their team. And even though, yes, he had a great collegiate year, a great collegiate season in Kentucky, you might say, wow, why would OKC take him? Because they need depth. Okay, that's just what it is.
And it's the best man available. Let's be honest.
Exactly, and for the SGA age gap thing, yeah, he's a little bit older but he's not that much older. And I think for him, it's more about winning. Right? I don't think it's more of the age gap. It's can they win? They almost made the playoffs last year without Chet. Now Chet's coming back. Let's see. And then I think after we see what happens there, that'll answer more questions for us going forward. But yeah, Sword Thompson going to the Pistons. I like that move. You have Cunningham, Ivy, Thompson. It's a nice 1 through 3, and then they'll figure out the big man situation with Isaiah Stewart and Bagley and James Wiseman. We talked about them last year. I like their future going forward. And the Wizards, listen, we'll see what the Wizards, they got Bilal Kalubali, played with Wembanyama at the Metropolitan 92. Hey, 6'7", tall guy. If he works on his shot, could be a piece. Could be a nice piece. Him and Poole, they're going to get a lot of opportunities to shine. I'm looking forward to seeing how they play in the West. And this is a solid draft, really good draft. I think the Mavericks did a good job getting some wings. They needed that after giving it up to the Nets and getting Jordan Hawkins from UConn, the Pelicans. They just draft. They've been drafting really well, man. Trey Murphy, Hawkins, Herb Jones, Alvarado. It's just, if this guy number 1 and 14, they get healthy together, they can really do something special down there in Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Yes, sir.
All right. Moving on back, transitioning kind of back to some talks that we had going on, but Philadelphia always finds a way to come in last. Let's just be honest. Right now, there's rumor of Tobias Harris is on the market. There's been talks with his dad questioning the front office, the whole 9 yards of that. And now a lot of teams are biting at the bits, really, to try to make a move to get Harris on their teams. The Suns have been one. Teams, let's see here. Philadelphia wanted a package for Jared Allen, Mobley, and a draft pick for Harris. That's quite a bit. That's from the Cleveland. The Suns were in talks. CJ's pulled it up for you podcasters. That's why I kind of hesitate. I just wanted to read what he had there for his graphic. But the Suns were talking about trading Ayton for Harris, but Philadelphia wanted more in return with that, and Suns were pushing for them to find a third team to take Ayton and have a three-way team trade. That seems to back off for now, and the Suns are saying they're happy to keep Ayton. So there's a lot of stuff going on as far as what's going on with Tobias Harris. So what do you guys make of this? Do you think a trade will happen here? I feel like one will happen, but I want to hear from you guys.
I'll be honest. I think Philly's kind of delusional. They were thinking about that trade package for Cleveland, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, and a draft pick. Jesus Christ. I don't know what they were thinking on that one. I mean, I don't know who they think Tobias Harris is. And look, I'm not trying to diss Tobias Harris. I think he's a phenomenal player. I think that he's a great third, fourth option, whatever you want to give him. But honestly, I mean, to me, I still think that Tobias can still, contribute to a playoff team depending on where it is. The thing about it is that I don't know, with Phoenix, or I think Philadelphia was asking too much for Phoenix, but Phoenix doesn't have a lot of assets, besides their 3 best players. So you're wanting more than Ayton. What else are you going to get? Terrence Ross? I don't know, but
that's
honestly,
why I think they're pushing for that 3 team, hoping the other person can give more.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, Tobias is still good. Tobias is good. I mean, there was even moments in the season where without Joel Embiid and without James Harden, where he did step up to the plate and he made some big shots. So I can't say that Tobias is a bad player, but how much would a team be willing to give up for Tobias? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's really the biggest question. So this is honestly my first time hearing about this. It was earlier today, so I didn't even know anything about it. So depending on what they want to do, honestly. To me, if I'm Philly, I think I sit on him for a little bit and see if you can find a better option. Honestly, I mean, I think there should be other things that they should worry about besides trading Tobias Harris. What is the future looking like for your duo, Joel Embiid and James Harden? There's been rumors about Phoenix. Well, Phoenix is off the table now since they got Bradley Beal, but there was also rumors about Houston, which I don't think would possibly happen either. So, are you going to stick with this duo, or are you going to possibly find some other trade destinations for James Harden? So I think that's pretty much what's on the table for me. Tobias Harris is good, and I mean, of course, if you have the option to get rid of him, then definitely do it. But I don't know if there's going to be any team that's going to go out of the way and give away, draft picks and young talent to get him. In my opinion.
So here's the quote from Tobias Harris' father. Talking about his son being in the corner of the offense. Tobias is an assassin scorer. Quote, Tobias Harris is an assassin scorer. I mean, they can't stop him. Nobody in the league can stop him. So he's proven that over his career. Even when he was with the Clippers, he was an assassin scorer. Ever since then, with the Sixers, they put him in the corner.
Define assassin scorer. That's interesting.
Yeah. Obviously this is Pops, so I was going to hype up your son. It's a different perspective, of course. Obviously, clear bias. He is a good player. 17 and a half in his 5 years in Philadelphia. 17 and a half points per game, 6 rebounds, 47, 35, 85. 49, 37, 85 shooting splits. It's good. It's a good player. Good player. I think one is you play with Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons was the second best player. Can't play off the ball. So he had to sacrifice. And then James Harden comes there. Can't play off the ball. So he had to sacrifice. So, I mean, that kind of answers the question right there as to why he kind of had to play in the corner. And even with that, he still put up some really solid numbers. And I think those at times, that's why his 17, 18, it's so quiet. And it's like, oh, wow, he had 17, he had 21. I didn't even realize it because it doesn't look as impactful because he's doing a lot of sacrificing. And I get it. That's what part of the team. That's what you have to do, especially if you're not the best player or the second best player on the team. That trade that was out there, this is a reporter that he covers the Sixers. I don't know how true it was. If Daryl Moore really thought he would get that deal for Tobias Harris, like I said, he should definitely stay off of whatever he might have been on because you're not getting that trade. That's impossible. Mobley and Jared Allen for Tobias, are you kidding me? It doesn't even make sense because they have Embiid. So that doesn't make any sense. I don't even know how real that is. Just sounded like a story that a writer needed to write to get some eyes on this article, in my opinion. But that's neither here nor there. But they should just keep him. I mean, they're already a playoff team. We're saying he should go to a playoff team. I'm like, they're already a playoff team. So I don't see how they would get better by losing him. Maybe Nick Nurse and his staff, coaching staff, they could put him in better positions to succeed. Something that maybe Doc Rivers wasn't able to do. But again, if you have a guy like James Harden on the team, he sacrificed in terms of scoring, and he led the league in assists, but he doesn't play off the basketball. He can't play off the basketball. Is it because he can't or he doesn't want to? I think, to me personally, I think it's the latter. So it's just the position he's going to be in. It's just what the position he's going to be in the corner. He has to sacrifice, man. That's just what it is. So. I don't know. I saw the Utah, Dallas. This was over for the draft. Utah, Dallas, Phoenix. They were interested in him, but that doesn't make any sense now for most of those teams. Philadelphia should keep him. 6'8" wing. That's efficient. Can score, rebound. I think Nick Nurse and their coaching staff just have to do a better job of putting him in some positions. Maybe have to play a little bit more with the second unit, relying on him more offensively with that second unit. And then maybe, we could see him, have more of an impact there. But again, it's like, with Embiid taking, mid-range free throws, shots, and Harden, again, not willing to, play off the ball. And he'll never stand. He rarely stands in the corner and play that type of basketball. It's just because he's just going to be in a tough spot. And that's kind of just what he's going to be in on this team. He's just going to have to want out if that's the position that presents itself.
It's Philly. That's about all I can say. I want Harris out, personally. I want him to go someone that actually is a contender that's ready to contend and make the right choices while contending. We still don't know if Harden's signing back. We don't know what's going to go on with the whole lineup. So that's what I'm just thinking. Like, they're a contender last year, but we don't know what that roster is looking like. We don't know if Maxi's moving up as the number 2 guy. If Harden moves out, are they expecting Harris to step in to be that? So if I'm Harris, I'm going to say, hey, if you can trade me, go ahead and trade me. That way you all can get a more definitive idea of what you all want as an identity, and I can move on and look for my future. But that's me.
I don't know how many teams want Harden, to be honest. So I just feel like he's going to be Philly by default.
Well, there's
Hey,
on Bleacher
I
Report
said
just now. I was
Milwaukee.
looking through
I
here.
said Milwaukee last week. Chris Middleton just declined his option.
I think that's a good fit. I don't think that's a good fit.
I don't know.
Harden and
just think
Giannis.
it's
Yeah, that's a bad.
No, I think Harden does end up a 76er next year because of that. And also, they just had an article say that Harden is intrigued, quote, intrigued by Nurse. So I think he's seeing that nobody's really hollering at him. He's like, well, Nurse ain't that bad. Maybe I need to stay here. I'm already here. My bags aren't packed. Let's just stay home because it ain't always greener on the other side.
Yeah, he wants a super max. He's not going to get a super max. He just has to deal with himself. He's not going to get a super max. Just the way he plays in the playoffs and how underwhelming he is in the playoffs. Then your age, you're not getting that type of money now.
And let me ask you all this real quick, since I don't want to get away from Harris because he's really what the topic is, even though the other are causing an effect here.
Exactly.
We go back a few years. Jimmy Butler was the one that they passed on to sign Tobias. Let's just hypothetically say if Jimmy Butler was still here, would he be having careers like Tobias because of Harden? I mean, granted, I know that Jimmy Butler probably wouldn't put up with Harden.
To be honest, if you keep Jimmy, you don't get Harden. Why you need Harden?
Well,
that's your second option.
Well, my question on that is because if Tobias Harris is really as good as they're saying he is, because you did choose him over Jimmy Butler, then the same should go if Jimmy Butler's there. You still would have Harden the whole 9 yards of that. So that's kind of where I was just asking to see how y'all felt on that. So because I think other teams are interested in him because they think he has that potential going back to being, quote, the assassin that he was in a couple, 3 years ago, I think it was maybe. So I think the potential's still there. He's still young, it's not like he's in his late 30s or anything like that. So I think it's an effort that you can make with him and mold him into a role player where he's still good, or a third option. I don't want to say role. That sounds a little extreme. It's just the team that he's on, like he's in the corner. I agree with his dad on that. Like Harden demands the ball in the middle of the paint, basically at the top of the keys between the two lines there. And then you got Embiid who's going to be posting up a lot. I mean, you can't really do too much with those two styles of play. You just got to be a catch and shooter.
That's all you have to do.
But we're talking about Tobias Harris here, though. Like, we never really viewed Tobias Harris as like an elite offensive threat. I don't think he's that elite with the ball in his hands. Yes, he can create on occasion, but he's not a James Harden. He's not a Jimmy Butler. You know what I'm saying? He's not like I don't know what his dad is thinking.
But we don't
know. He's not a Devin Booker or anything. You know what I mean?
I think what his dad is saying is that like the offense could get stagnant, right? And there isn't really a lot of creativity in the offense. When you have someone like when you had Ben Pryor who couldn't shoot, so you needed players out there that could because he couldn't do it. And then you got James Harden who, like Michael just said, he needs the basketball in his hands. And if he doesn't have the basketball in his hands, he pretty much acts like he doesn't know how to play basketball. Yeah. So that's just what it is. And it's like, can you really fight? Who you going to go to? You're going to go to the president and Daryl Morey, a guy that James Harden pretty much made his career in Houston. What are you going to tell him? Like,
right there.
What are you going to tell? Like, without James Harden, there's no Daryl Morey. Like, he made his career. So it's just a politic thing there. In terms of a front office standpoint, just got to deal with it. I'm like, that's just
deal
what
with
it is.
Request a trade.
It's going to come down to Nick Nurse. Yeah, or request a trade. It's going to come down to Nick Nurse and Harden, bro. Like that report that you said, he's intrigued. I don't even know what that's just hey, man, I feel bad for Embiid. I really do. I feel bad for Embiid. I'll just put it that way.
Now, I do want to ask this question if you guys don't care. You bringing it up too. Yeah, that's it. That's the question I was wanting to bring up. Do we realistically, and Kevin, thanks for the comment on YouTube, do you realistically see Middleton playing for another team? Because I think you all know where I stand on this.
Where do you stand on it?
Well, the weeks past, I've said I don't think Milwaukee will be the team anymore. I think Chris Middleton will opt out, which he did, and I think he'll look elsewhere. Lopez is another player that will probably – to me, Lopez is a super pivotal piece for a team. Was, second or third in defense player of the year?
Lopez to the Lakers. That's what I heard.
Oh man, please no. But anyways, Lopez, a great deep 3-point shooter from your big who can space out that middle, let everyone who can drive, and not have to worry about that, still lock down defense. So he is, to me, a pivotal piece for the team that picks him up to be a contender next year. I think this team breaks it up. And if these two guys are gone, I think Giannis asks for a trade too. Now, it might be bold, but that's where I'm at. Who wants to go to Milwaukee? I mean, the only reason why you go to Milwaukee is because of Giannis. And if Lopez gets some cash running in front of his face to go on another contender team, I would jump on it. And if Middleton is already declined and if Lopez is out, everyone has always said Middleton is not a top 50 player and he is the Robin. So why not take
in
some
today's
cash?
NBA?
Yes.
I think he's top 50. There's 50 players better than Chris Middleton?
I think he's top 50.
Yeah.
Most people have said that he is not top 50 because there's 30 teams in the league. He's not the number one option, so that automatically takes him out as the top 30. And more than likely, he's a weak second option on each team, and they usually say that therefore he's close to the 50, but he's out of it. If I'm him, I go elsewhere and prove that I'm that guy.
I mean, yeah, there are 30 teams, but I think Chris Middleton is possibly better than a lot of number one options on other teams.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay.
Out of those 30 teams, there's some bad teams, and like none of them.
I agree.
I got Chris Middleton over Karl Anthony Towns.
Chill, chicks.
Over Cat.
And that's the end of this episode.
Hey, hang on a minute. So you're telling me Chris
like and subscribe.
You're telling me you got Karl Anthony Towns right now over Chris Middleton.
Come on,
yes. He was the number one option.
I'm not even like the biggest Cat fan, bro, but
he said it. I
think y'all forgot Chris Middleton was. This was the closer on a championship team 2 years ago.
I didn't forget.
He was a closer.
He's a really good player.
This definitely has to be clipped and put out there so Nick can get his hatred again from Twitter world. He'll be like, "Who is this cat saying this stuff?"
Smoke, man. Y'all know I don't.
He's not better than Cat, bro.
For everyone out there listening, just so you guys know, we are MNC Hoops. Yeah. Nick is 1/3 of us, so just stay with us, guys. We appreciate the love. There's 2/3 that are still in our right mind with some of our takes on here. Okay.
Kevin says he likes him in Sacramento. That's a nice spot.
I like that. Actually.
They need to get rid of Harrison Barnes. Get him out of there. Get Harrison Barnes out of there.
Yeah. The only reason why I wouldn't like that because that would hurt Monk a little bit as far as PT.
Why?
How?
Well, he's already 6-man. He don't start, but I mean he plays quite a bit of minutes. But I feel like that
replace Harrison Barnes with Chris Middleton. I don't think that affects Malik Monk.
If Harrison Barnes is gone, I think that would be perfect. I do. I'm good with that.
Yeah. That's what we're saying. Yeah,
because technically he's a free agent if he opts out, so you don't have to get rid of Harrison Barnes.
Yeah, he'll probably be gone, man. That's a good spot for him.
Kevin, do you want to be a part of MNCK because of that?
Hey, Kev, if you still in here, who you got, Karl Anthony Towns or Chris Middleton?
You don't even have to answer that, man. We already know.
It's crazy that we're asking that. But
put some respect on that man's name, man.
You are putting some respect on Cat's name.
Obviously,
I respect him. I like the Kings for Chris Middleton though. No,
I do too. That's a good
side. I do. That's a good spot. That's a good fit. That's a good fit. You can space the floor. Fox is still a slasher, not a great floor spacer. So having a guy like Middleton would be a good spot. Good spot for him. So both the opposition. No comment. I mean, listen. I think it's a good. I think Cat is definitely better.
All I'm saying is, one of the guys was a closer on the championship team 2 years ago,
and one guy was on a very special team last year because they only had 3 months to put it together, and it was more special than what.
And yeah, one of them. one of them celebrates, regular season awards rather than they believe that their success was better than the Nuggets winning a chip.
Now I got
Exactly.
that's fair. But if you're going off talent, come on, bro.
Look, I'm not taking it away from Cat. I think Cat is very talented.
Okay, let me ask this, just so I can kind of dive in a little bit more of this, Nikolai. How close do you think they are? At least.
No, it's close. I'm not saying that Chris Middleton's miles better than Karl Anthony Towns. But if we're going off of, to me, I don't think Cat. I mean, even though Cat is talented, I don't think he's exceeded expectations. I think that we can all agree to that because he was supposed to come in as the franchise player. They've only gotten to the playoffs like 2 or 3 times since his arrival there, and he's never really been that number one option, particularly in the playoffs. In that Memphis series, he wasn't the best player. I thought he was going to show up in that series. I mean, not saying that he didn't have good games, but overall, it was very inconsistent production from Karl Anthony Towns. And it was the same thing in that Rocket series in 2018 when they went up against Harden, Chris Paul, and those guys. So the way that I look at it is, I don't think we get the best of Karl Anthony Towns when it's needed most. Whereas, Chris Middleton, look, I'm not saying Chris Middleton is a superstar by any means. I'm not saying that, but I'll be real. Even Chris Middleton has had stretches where he didn't play his best basketball. But I think when you look at both of them, and me looking at Chris Middleton, being able to show up in the playoffs and in the finals, and be that guy that they can go to down the stretch. I think that Chris Middleton is a great player.
All right, okay. So this will end the debate right here. Yo, so Cat's what, third best center in the league?
He is third best.
Okay, so where's Chris Middleton? Where's Chris Middleton?
We're not going off position, though. You know what I'm saying? We're not going off position.
No, we're not going
CJ, I was going to go this route, and actually I was going to bring it up and say I'm going to try my best CJ impersonation here. All right. So, Cat was the franchise player for at least the year or two with Minnesota. Has Middleton ever been the franchise player? All right, it's Cat.
If Chris Middleton was in Minnesota,
Clip. That's it. Clip.
If Chris Middleton was if it was Karl Anthony Towns and Chris Middleton in Minnesota, who y'all think would be the number one option?
The one that was already a number one option.
Don't say Cat.
Really?
Come on, man.
You really think Chris Middleton be a number one option?
And if he was in Minnesota with Cat, yes, he would.
Bro,
come on.
Really? You said
like what? I can't believe y'all are so high on Cat, and I love Cat. I can't believe y'all are so high on him.
I'm high on him, and that's why I'm so disappointed now he folds the way he folds because he's talented. Bro.
Karl Anthony Towns is very talented.
You just wait, hold on. You just said if Chris Middleton and Cat was on the same team, Chris Middleton would be the number one option.
So you guys trust Karl Anthony Towns as your number one option, or as your franchise guy. Y'all trust him at this stage in his career? He's 8-9 years in.
Compared to Chris Middleton, yes.
But what gives you so much trust in Chris Middleton and being a number two?
And being a number two?
He's a number two, right?
We've seen it. Have we not seen it? Him being a number two, and they got a championship.
I would argue Drew Holiday may have even.
He's not. No, he's not. No, he's not. Come on now, Drew Holiday's not better than Chris Middleton. Come on now.
They needed Drew Holiday to win the ring.
They did need Drew Holiday to win. And look, I'll give Drew Holiday all the credit. He was a great defensive player, but he wasn't better than Chris Middleton.
In impact wise, it's pretty close between both of those guys.
Thank you, CJ.
It's pretty close.
Nick close, is getting so mad. It's about to be MC hoops. Nick is about to quit us. He is so mad.
I'm not mad. I'm just trying to explain it to you guys, man.
So
there's no explaining it.
Okay, so what you're saying is, so by you saying that, you're saying that Chris Middleton on the same level as Ant-Man, right?
I'm not saying that, but I mean, if we're going based off of these two guys, to me, I mean, this is just me. As far as right now, I got him over Cat. And I'm not saying it's like miles better. I'm not saying, it's not even close. I think it's very, very close. But to me, I just haven't seen. I don't think Karl Anthony Towns at this stage in his career is a franchise player. I don't see him as a number one option. So that's why it's close for me.
But even if he's not, he's still better than. Hey, listen, I get you. Now I see what you're saying because he's like, again. I see what you're saying. I agree with your points as to why you critique Cat, and I agree with those points. But if we're just going off talent, I was, and just not just.
I
talent,
get that. Okay. So that's the thing here. So yes, talent wise,
25 and 12.
I will. Yes, talent wise, I will give you Cat. You know what I'm saying? I think Cat is very talented. I'm not taking nothing away from him, but who has had the better? Who as far as who would I want on my team? Either one of those two guys.
You about said who's had a better career, and the answer is Cat, and then you stopped it.
It's not Cat.
Who would you like? What?
Okay, name Karl Anthony Towns' accolades. What accolades does he have? He's almost 10 years in.
3-point shooting contest.
We're going based off of that.
That's what I said. I asked you. I said, who's the third best center in the NBA?
No, I'll give it to Karl Anthony Towns, but we're not going off position.
So you think Chris Middleton's better than Cat, right? All right, here we go. Right here, look. So where?
I'll be on this side. This is great.
Where you So Cat. So you don't think Cat is a top 25 player in the league?
I think he's up there, yeah.
Okay, so you telling me Chris?
Well,
Middleton
I would.
Hold on.
I would have to think about it. Right?
You gotta think about it. Is Cat? Okay, let's say top 30. Cat top 30 in the league.
I'll say he's up there, yeah.
Okay, so you telling me Chris Middleton's a top 30 player in the NBA? That's you telling me.
I think he can make a case. Like, can you name 30 better?
Yes.
Like,
30 is a lot of guys. You know what I'm saying? And every time,
exactly. It's like out of 30, it's like a couple of those are guards. I'm taking Jalen Brunson over Chris. What are you talking? Yo, what's this guy talking about, bro? What is this guy talking about?
Hey, CJ.
I actually agree with you on that. I actually agree with you on that. I would take Brunson over him too.
Can you pull up that list from last week that that top 10 ranking? What was it? 100 ranking?
Oh, last week, right? 125. Yeah.
If you can pull that up, can you just see where they have Chris Middleton on that for me? And of course Karl Anthony Towns as well, because to me, they're about 20 to 25 people apart from each other. It's not close. And I'm not.
It's not close between Karl Anthony Towns and Chris Middleton. I don't even care if I pick Karl Anthony Towns. It's just like,
I don't think so, because Karl Anthony Towns could be a number one guy on a team. Has been a number one guy.
And where has that led to?
Well, led or not, that's not really the argument. Like Chris Middleton, I mean, we could say, well, what's he done at number two? Well, he's not done much.
What do you mean? He won a championship as a number two option. What are y'all talking about?
So this is the ringer, right? And again, this is tough because they don't even have LeBron top 10. So
they're pretty smart on that.
Yeah. So they got Cat at 31.
Okay.
And I'm scrolling.
Seth, I'm getting tired trying to find Chris Middleton.
They got a 49. So I said he was a top 50 player.
I said right at 50.
I said he was a top 50 player.
All right, so I'm trying to find it now on my phone. But who do they have in front of him? Like, what?
So about 20 players.
Middleton.
Well, I mean, like between 32 and 48. Like, who do they have in front of him?
They got Chris Paul, Levine, Wiggins, Aaron Gordon, DeJounte, Randall, Beal, DeRozan, Kyrie.
I'll be real. I think
Middleton at 38.
I think Middleton and Wiggins is debatable.
Okay, but so you agree with us?
That's not what I'm saying. It's like,
so you just agree with us then? Because I said he was a top 50 player. He's a top 50 player in the NBA. I'm not crazy, but to say he's better than
I can't find this list anywhere on my phone. Jeez.
Whoa.
Hey, look, I like Cat. I'm not trying to diss Cat by any means.
We all like Cat. Let's be honest.
Y'all are high on him being the number one option, but it's like what? Like It's only what 2 or 3 playoff appearances.
But see, I never said I was high on him being the number 1 option though.
Well, I'm talking about that's what Michael was doing. Michael was like, "Oh, he's a number 1."
He's been a number 1, but he's not going to win a
done?
championship. No, he's not going to win a championship. No, but Chris Middleton's never even had the opportunity to be the number 1 because he can't.
Who said that he can't? You know what I'm saying? Like, we've never seen it happen. So who said that he can't?
The other 49 players ahead of him basically said that he couldn't.
So you trust a lot of those guys to win your championship before Chris Middleton?
Okay, let's be honest. Some of these teams can't win a championship no matter who they have because that's just who they have.
And look, Cat has had opportunities. People forget he had Jimmy Butler and Andrew Wiggins with him.
You're right.
That's an opportunity.
Right. The reasons why. So you're just disappointed in Cat not being where he should be. I'm with you. But then there's also the factor in who's a better player. It's 2 different things.
But that's the thing. Like, what are we going off? Are we going off of just strictly talent, or are we going off of like, who would you want on your team?
Cat is better than
multiple time All-Star, All-NBA. It's not just talent, but yeah,
Nick, did Cat hurt you at some point in your life, man?
Because that's why I said when I asked you, I said is Cat the 3rd best center in the league? You said yeah, and then I asked you to rank Chris Middleton among small forward. You said positions don't matter. I was like, what you mean positions don't matter?
I mean, but like, I'm not basing it off of like when I'm thinking about this debate. I'm not thinking about positions. Like, I'm going off like
saying you want Middleton on your team to win a championship
over Cat. Yes.
Okay, so he's a better fit for your team, but that doesn't make him a better player.
I think he's yes. Okay, yes. Talent wise, Cat is great, but if we're going off of career
welcome back.
If we're going off of career and who would you pick to help you win a championship? It's Chris Middleton. That's where I was going based off of. Okay. Who would I trust me to win a championship, or like who?
It's like PJ Tucker. Obviously, he's not a great player, but yet he finds a way to be on a team that is in the runnings to be a contender or a championship caliber team because he's not good, but he's great at what he does. He's a good defender. He can play 1 through or 5 through, we'll say 3 on defense, and he can knock down the 3-point shot. He stays within his realm. You're saying Chris Middleton does good what he can do good, and he knows that he can't do extra, and he stays at that, and you're fine with having that role player on your team. Is that what that's why you rather have him? Cat doesn't really know what he is, and he's not exceeded his expectations.
I'm just saying, when it came to pressure situations in the playoffs, I've seen Chris Middleton deliver. I haven't seen Karl-Anthony Towns deliver to that degree. I know that Chris Middleton has had a better team around him. He has arguably one of the best players in the NBA, but I can't really necessarily give that excuse to Cat because Cat has had teams to where they can be playoff contenders. Like I said, Jimmy Butler, Andrew Wiggins, and the rest of those guys. Even now with Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert, I know the fit's not necessarily great, but I mean, that team could still possibly try to make something happen in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, like again, I don't want to get too much. It was good discussion. It was good discussion, and
I love it.
We went off the rails on that one.
He's Chris Middleton's great. Like I said, he's top 50, no doubt. And I think that's obvious.
Cat is top 30.
On this list. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's just different. And on this list, they got LaMelo at 50. It's like if LaMelo had a healthy season.
And that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it's that crazy. He's a top 50 player. It's just he gotta do what you're saying Cat's not doing, right?
That's true. I'll give you that.
That's what I'm saying, bro. It's like I understand why you're not but I'm just still when you just base it off talent and the fact that he's won multiple, went to the All-Star game, All-NBA player, you still got to count that in. But again, I agree with your reasoning. I agree with your criticism. Like we was talking about that last week. He was coming out saying crazy stuff. Like I agree. This is perfect transition. So Kevin Durant joins. It's Kevin Durant versus Twitter Spaces. So Kevin Durant joins the Twitter space with Low, legend of winning. He's an NBA YouTuber. A few 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Successful guy. Talks about the NBA, drops videos about the NBA and the league. And he did a space, and the space was called KD is not a top 5 player. And KD joined the Twitter space and had this to say. Oh, the video's not going to show the sound. Oh, that's tough. Let's see if I can play it on my phone. Let's see. Niggas rap. So yeah, I'm gonna see if I can play it on my phone here. This is with
KD.
There we go.
Just think how y'all even look at the game as what playoff success, like you factor in team success when you talk about players. I just think how y'all consume the game is trash. Like, are you good or not? I agree. I mean, some things could be that simple. Are you just good or not? I mean, a lot of people have seen it for a long time, brother. And it's okay. These lists don't really mean nothing anyway. So why are you getting so upset about them? Just think how y'all even look at the game as well.
All right, so that was KD's response to the Twitter space. Obviously Low. I don't follow him too much, but I remember last year when they lost to the Celtics, he was pretty he was criticizing KD because KD has his fans. He's an excellent player. I still think he's a top 5 player in the league. And the thing I like about Kevin Durant, some people criticize him for this, but I like when he's interactive with the fans because one, it's good. You have the discourse. You state you have your stance. He's gonna have his stance. And you could talk about it. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of conversation. That's the beauty of having Twitter, being on the platform. That's why it was so weird to me when he had the burners and all that type of stuff. It's like, bro, like I understand. In a way, I understood why he did it, but now at this point, it's like it doesn't matter anymore. So he's joining the spaces, chopping it up, and it's good. It's good. And obviously, calling your Twitter space, KD is not top 5. And KD's always on Twitter. And Low gets thousands of people in his spaces. He's done a great job. In his NBA media career. Kudos to him. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on this, man. And players getting into the space. I think more should do it. More players should do it and really put some of these people in and put some of these guys in their place. Because some of these people do talk crazy on Twitter, on social media. They be talking wild. And what's your thoughts on this? Do you think KD is a top 5 player or not?
You want to go first, Mike, or you want me to?
Go ahead.
All righty. Well, first and foremost, I just want to go ahead and get this out the way. The guy that hosted the space is on Twitter is Legend of Winning. I just want to say you are a clown. I don't like you. I don't like your knowledge for the game, and that whole spaces was just blasphemy. But just to say, but it's so crazy though because I was listening to it a little bit, or I didn't listen to it live, but I actually went back to listen to it because it was recorded. And a lot of the reasoning why they didn't believe Kevin Durant was top 5 was because of rim pressure, which was kind of crazy to me. I mean, obviously Kevin Durant's not a guy that's going to attack the rim 24/7, but just basing your opinion off of that is kind of crazy to me because if you look at a lot of the top guys in the NBA, there's going to be something that they're not, that their specialty isn't at. Like Jokic is the best player in the NBA, but we've all agreed that Jokic is not the best rim protector. However, we still think that he's the best in the NBA because of the other things that he can do: his passing, his scoring, what he brings on the offensive end. Stephen Curry's not a great defender, but he's up there as far as top 5 because of his shooting ability, his ability to be a playmaker with or without the ball. Same thing with LeBron. LeBron James is an average free throw shooter, but he's still one of the greats because of his vision, his high IQ for the game, etc. So there's always going to be something that, even as great as these guys are, there's going to be something that they're not great at. And I've never really known Kevin Durant, even back to his OKC days or Seattle days. I've never really known him as a guy that was like a rim attacker like that. So that was kind of a terrible reasoner for me. But I mean, when you look at the numbers for KD, even before the trade, he was averaging like nearly 30. He shot around like 56, 57% from the floor, which I want to say was a career high for him. So, I think at this stage it is debatable if he is top 5, because you still got Jokic, you still got Embiid, or I might actually have KD over Embiid. I'm not sure where you guys stand on it. You still got Steph, you still got Giannis, you still got LeBron. So I think KD, he either cracks the top 5 or he's like probably just like a tier below the top 5. So that's just my opinion. And I'll be real, I love him coming into the spaces, just kind of acknowledging what was going on and just saying like, hey, I don't agree with you guys' takes on anything. Because honestly, KD's kind of been at that point where it's like, where he's just kind of like, I don't really care about all-time lists. I don't care about, accolades or anything. I just want to go out there and play ball. I don't know if that's him just trying to downplay anything or if he really believes that, but I think that's kind of been his stance over the past couple of years. Because, I think other interviews have even questioned him about, him being on an all-time list or him being an all-time great in this category, that category, and he just kind of downplayed like, hey, I don't really care about that. Everybody's great, which I get it. You respect the game. You respect people that came before you. You respect people that, who are playing, like currently playing alongside with you. So I love him coming into the spaces. I think that, he ended up making some good points. And, to me, I just kind of disagree as far as Kevin Durant not being a top 5 player based off of rim pressure, if you want to say.
Okay, is Kevin Durant a top 5 player in the NBA right now? As bad as I don't want to say it, I go with no. Can he be? Yes, but I think some injuries and just father time has got him dialed back a little bit. He does have everything, the weapons to where he can be top 5, but we are right now in an era where there are 3 big men right now that control so much offensively from a rebounding, a scoring, and somewhat even of an assist standpoint that also play somewhat of a defense. Now, I'm just saying 3 there. You can say it however you want to. Giannis is top 3 for sure. Embiid's ability is top 3 as well, and then Jokic is number 1. Let's just be honest. LeBron James is in that conversation as well, CJ. I'm not going to not say it, okay? LeBron's in that top 5 conversation somewhere. And then you have so many other players. So to me, it's so hard to say these players fit perfectly in this spot because 1 through 10 are really interchangeable at any given day. It's just who gets on a hot streak.
1 through 10 is interchangeable? Maybe 1 through 5. Yeah.
Let me say 1 through 3 probably is interchangeable.
1 through 10.
Good job tonight.
4 through 10 is more interchangeable, I guess, on that.
Okay.
There's tiers. Let me say it that way. There's a few tiers that you go through there. So I don't get hung up so much on saying top 5, top 10, and all this stuff and thinking that it's set in stone or anything. Because if Kevin Durant, we didn't see him in a Suns jersey very much. Especially even in the regular season. His first game during warmups, he rolled his ankle and he was out 3 weeks. So
that's crazy.
To say he's top 5 is almost really just throwing a number out there and hoping that it's going to be that way because we don't really know how he is. He's having this offseason to heal, and we'll see how he comes back. I guess
can you really base it off of injuries? Because you can make a case LeBron's been injured. Joel Embiid was injured. You know what I'm saying? Can you make a case based off of, being hurt? Because there's a lot of guys who we view as one of the best that, are in and out of lineups because they get injured.
But I don't put those, me personally, I try not to put those in there so strong. And that's why, to me, LeBron's not top 5 so much now because he is injury prone as of lately. I heard a stat the other day that in the past 3 years, he's played only 6 games, average 6 games more than Anthony Davis in the past 3 years. But we don't talk about that much because he misses a lot of games.
But
not Not on a level as Anthony Davis, LeBron to street clothes or anything like that. Like we talk about LeBron missing a lot, but not
Since he's been
compared
a
to
Laker, we say this is the most he's been hurt in his
right.
career.
And we'll say that, but to see the comparison of Anthony to Davis, where we say like we don't even know what he's going to do, and he's only played 6 more games, like that puts it a little more perspective that I at least have not paid attention to. So let me get back to the Kevin Durant. I don't think he's top 5 right now because I don't know how healthy he is. Is why I don't think Leonard is top 5. But when he plays, he's top 5. So that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know what we're going to expect from when the season starts. If he can maintain what he has in the past, then yes, I'm confident to say he can be top 5. But until I see how injured he is, because Booker was the best player on that team during the playoffs, in my opinion. So unless Booker is top 4, then I can't say that Durant is top 5.
Yeah. So first point is, like I said earlier, it's good. It's good players hopping in the Twitter Spaces.
Oh,
First
love that too.
Listen,
of course.
man. KD. MNC Hoops. We do some Twitter Spaces every now and then. If you want to pull up, pass through, my guy. More than welcome. Chop it up. We can have discussions like this. I promise you, it just won't be. I agree. The whole time. There'll definitely be some more discourse in there.
We talk real hoops, KD. If you listen, and we talk real hoops.
Civil discourse, of course, but the reason why he's not top 5 because of rim pressure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one. I mean, because like Nick said, it's all those guys have flaws in their game. Just for example, Jaylen Brown, all NBA player. But he's not great dribbling with the left. Guys have flaws in their game.
Michael was ready for that one.
Across the league.
No hate.
That's just what it is. That's just what it is, bro. Nobody's perfect. And is he top 5 right now? You got to go with the three. Obviously, Jokic number 1. Got Giannis. Got to put Giannis 2. Embiid 1. Embiid won MVP, but those 2 guys had the championship, so you can put that. That's the one caveat. It's a big caveat, really, that they got over Embiid because they already had the MVP 2, to be exact. So there you go. 1, 2, 3. Curry, and then you can throw KD in there.
Tatum.
You might have to go Bron. You gotta go Bron.
Tatum. Obviously, I still feel LeBron is if you don't want to put him top 5, top 7, whatever. I still feel like he's easily
top 10.
Easily top. That's just a given. If you're not saying that, then there's no point in discussing hoops with you. So he's definitely not. But KD, I'd say he's in that 5. I'd say he's in that 5 to 7 range. Kawhi, again, like you said, that's a great point. Listen, Kawhi is just can't stay on the court. But when he's out there, he was baking the Suns. He was 48 piece, 40 piece. It's like it's just that's what he does. That's what he does. So, yes, is he 5? Is he 4? I don't know. I think he's definitely in that range. No doubt about it. And what he said is, the real question is, can you hoop? That's it. That's part of it. Right? That's obviously the big part. Can you hoop? All these guys can hoop. Mm-hmm. But okay, your impact in the playoffs is a big factor in how you play, especially when you're in that top 5 category. That's being factored in. Case in point, I just said the top 2 players. What do they have over Embiid? A ring. So that's key when you're talking about these type of lists and you want to do rankings and things like that. I sometimes try to stay away from it. I know we had the big talk about that at the start of the playoffs, and it was good talk. It was great talk. But it's tough because one, there's just so many players talented in the league, man. And, they could be like a 20-game stretch. KD's when it comes to talent and everything, yes. The efficiency's still there. Did he struggle in that series against Denver? Yeah, but I mean, based on the run that Denver had, every team struggled against the Nuggets. So, what is that? What are we really saying with that? They were the best team in basketball this year, and he's just he to me he's still a top 5 player. He's still a top 5 player, and if he's not top 5, then again, like he's definitely not anything short of 7. No doubt about it. No doubt about it, man. I mean, just the shot making. If you're telling me the only reason why he's not top 5 is because of rim protection, that's I don't get that. I don't get that reasoning for me. But if you want to talk about, they got swept last year. He got swept last year against the Celtics. Struggled against Denver. Wasn't as efficient. Some not going to the basket like he used to go to the basket. The injuries play a factor in that. Being more of a jump shooter. Those 2 guys ahead of him have usurped him. They're younger. They're fresher. They don't have the injury concerns. They're entering their prime. KD is kind of on the way out of his prime. Cool. If that's what you're mentioning and that's what you're saying, got it. I got you. But just because he's not a rim protector, that was a little weird. But hey, that's why I like Spaces, man. It's because you never know who joins, and you have different type of opinions. People have their opinions, and they get to say what they need to say. And that's why I'm always a fan of that discourse. Don't want to get too crazy and too deep, but you see a lot of platforms and things like that try to silence people and things of that nature. When you bring people on the Spaces, you speak your mind about sports or whatever it is. Speak your mind. You debate it with some facts, and you move on. You don't got to get crazy and start talking, getting disrespectful. Like I've heard some Spaces, it gets crazy. It could get toxic. Like some Nick Twitter Spaces, I try to stay away from at all times. I rarely join any Nick's Twitter Spaces because it's extremely toxic, and I end up leaving after like 2 minutes.
See, we even got through Nick saying that Chris Middleton was better than Cat, but we weren't through it.
I don't think they try to shut out Chandler. We try to shut our account down if we made a space like that. No, I was just fucking.
Hey, man, we all gotta have an opinion, man.
Of course. We all gotta have an opinion. And again, like I said, the Twitter Space, it was a smart thing that they added to Twitter, man. I know Clubhouse did it. Clubhouse kind of started it, and then Twitter, took the idea and ran with it. But it was extremely smart.
And we've got a few, I would say, followers from Twitter Spaces that want to join when we're live on that. And everyone that joins are respectful too. Omar, Skoll comes in quite a bit.
Absolutely.
Kevo as well.
Yeah, Kevo. Yeah, you met a lot of new people off the Twitter Spaces this year. So it was something that we wanted to add to our platform. And man, like I said, you never know who's going to join. I've joined some Twitter Spaces. Richard Jefferson pulled up. KD has joined in this one. So that's what I'm saying. Like these guys are on Twitter, and you go to the space option on the space section on your phone, and as you see like a couple 100 people, couple thousand people in there, join in, speak. It's just lit. It's just a fire conversation, bro. Like, so it's cool.
Well, you guys got anything else? I think that really wraps up our show for this week.
Yes, it does.
Just FYI, anybody want to come after me for my takes? I don't hide.
No,
nothing.
and he keeps posting about them. It keeps commenting about them.
I don't hide.
I've seen the dead horse from Michael. I've seen that.
They was trying to get me out of here with the whole Spurs thing, and guess what? I stood tall, man. But it's all good, man. It's all conversation.
We'll talk about that another time. I know we got to get out of here. That's still crazy to me.
Nick, where can these haters find you at?
Yes, sir. First and foremost, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at MNC Hoops. Subscribe to the YouTube page. We need to get our follower or our subscribers up, man. Yes, it's promoting our content constantly, man. So make sure to follow us there. Subscribe to us on all podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, whatever it is you listen to your podcast. Give us 5-star reviews. I think that we are deserving of that. As for myself, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at NickAndreATR, and check out the link tree in the bio. You'll see everything from podcasts, articles, and you name it.
Awesome. CJ, where can I don't want to say lovers, that doesn't sound, where can our fans find you at?
Hey, supporters, haters, CJames9 _ on Twitter, CJ.James9 on Instagram, doing some polls there, getting some people's thoughts on some of the trades that happened this week. Got some good interactions. Appreciate everybody that voted on the polls, man. It meant a lot to the kid. Appreciate that. Knicks Boulevard, obviously MSC Hoops everywhere on all your favorite platforms. Just hit us up there. Yeah, man. We're doing some big things. Got Summer League right around the corner. Free agency coming up soon. It just doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. So, yeah, follow me on those platforms. Appreciate you guys supporting. And again, MSC Hoops on SeatGeek, $20 off your first purchase.
Absolutely. And of course, I'm just going to start there because I was prepared to want to give shout out again to SeatGeek as it scrolls across the bottom here. Use the promo code on their webpage, MNC Hoops, and get $20 off your first purchase for the tickets on there. Of course, follow us. You can go to Linktree/MNC Hoops, I think at MNC Hoops on that, and find all of our links to all of our platforms that we got there. Each one of our social media has a link to something else. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Of course, subscribe to that as well. Put on the notification bell for every time we go live on anything, our shorts that we do it, and the whole 9 yards of that. Of course, the podcast, any platform on podcast, we are live on that as well. We appreciate all the love that you give us. We honestly appreciate the hate as well because we want you talking with us in any form of fashion. It lets us know you're listening there, and most of the hate goes towards Nick, so we're happy about that.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of hate, man. I mean, I guess, once the success starts to come, definitely there'll be some
That's where I see. When I see hate, I see success, just to be honest, unless it's a bad
thing. That's what it is, man. You got to find a way to stand out, man. That's just how it is.
But with that being said, you guys got anything else y'all want to say?
That's it, man. Appreciate all the supporters, all the followers, man. Make sure y'all tap in, man. Every Sunday, 9 p.m.
All right, with that being said, you guys have a great one, and we'll see you all next week.
See you guys next week.
Deuces.